The original version of this video was uploaded to Jason Verney's YouTube channel, where it and many other videos, podcasts, snippets and films can be found. That channel can be found at youtube.com/Jason Verney.
I ordered these Squid Game costumes like 300 years ago. I feel like I'm kidnapping myself. Hey. Oh my god, why am I doing this on a fucking Friday afternoon? Oh. I can't see anything though.
This is the Not So Korean podcast with Jay and Tim. I am Timothy Home.
And I am Jason Verney. And welcome to the No So Kopo. Yes, in this Not So Korean podcast, we talk to one another, and sometimes with special guests, about what we know about Korea,
What we don't know about Korea,
what we want to know about Korea,
and sometimes what we don't want to know about Korea.
Yep, recording live from UK's Koreatown itself, an area in and around New Malden. That's the largest Koreatown and Korean community in Europe. We'll start this episode off with a quick summary of the last few days and what we've been up to. Now, I always start with Tim, asking him, but I think it's a bit unfair this time. Shall I start with
Well,
you?
what's up with you, Jason, recently?
Quite a lot, but Korean related, as soon as we're talking about Korean stuff.
Uh-huh.
The first thing I should probably mention is that my short film, or my mid-length film, Reparation,
Yes.
was accepted at a film festival. I did mention it, thanks very much. And I think you did say well done last time, but I hadn't revealed the film festival.
Right.
And I have mentioned to you about it very briefly, but it's called the Aporia International Film Festival in Korea.
And the Korean name is a bit different, right?
Yes, and I spoke to the organisers about that, because Tim being a translator, he obviously picked up on it straight away. I mean, I know my Hangul, but he picked up this completely different meaning, but I got the description from the organisers of the event. It's been running for 20 years, but it was a difficult one to basically put the exact same translation in Korean and in English.
Yeah.
So, anyhow, the event itself, which I didn't reveal last time, just because I wanted to get my sort of, things in order.
Sure.
It's based actually between North and South Korea in the kind of not quite the DMZ.
Right.
It tells
Close
people.
to the DMZ.
Yeah. You knew a bit more than what I did, having lived there before.
I believe it's in Gangwon Province.
Yes,
that's
it.
where the base is. But you said it's also they go to other parts of Korea with the films.
Yeah, they do. I was still trying to work this out recently as well. They do show in maybe Jeju and Daegu and other places. But I couldn't work out if they repeat the films or whether they just show them online and then people gather around there, or I'm not too sure. But yeah, the area, they describe it as being the DMZ area. Of course, there is already the documentary fest, which is DMZ Docs, which I'm sure you're familiar with. But this is a 30-minute work of fiction. So yeah, that was that. I'm still sorting out some subtitles for that. There was I had subtitles done already, with some help from my friend who's actually in the film, and also Tim had a little look as well as someone else, and I had a look. But I need to provide another file because of the way they play them.
Right.
So it's going to have two different versions at least.
Yeah.
So that's what I've been up to regarding that.
Yeah, I still haven't seen the film, so I can't provide a review of the film.
That's right, and you wouldn't, because I want everyone to see it. Everyone who's involved to see it at the same time. It wouldn't be fair.
Yeah.
I know you're my good friend Tim, but yeah, I know also if there's a chance for it to be online, which it sounds like there will be, then great. There's no point me showing it before. I could, if the world was normal and there was COVID free, I would potentially do a kind of friends and family screening, or even local one, and I'm still thinking of doing that. But it's just yeah, it's just a bit different at the moment.
Yeah, that's
I really wanted, and also I wanted to see that it was accepted by some Korean audiences to feel more comfortable about showing other people, even if they were involved. It might sound bizarre, but yeah. So,
well, I hope you get some good feedback on that.
Yeah, thanks. Yeah, I hope so too. Well, to me, the official selection is quite good feedback. In a way, I think they selected like a couple hundred films, or 800, but I'm not. You know, it gives you a bit of a confidence boost.
Sure.
One other thing I was involved with, though, was something that you were involved with as well, which was putting some posters up around town for an event which is coming up, which we're going to talk about later, which is the kimchi festival, KIMJANG festival in New Malden. We'll talk more about that, but we helped the organiser, who we've also mentioned before.
Yes.
We helped her go around all these restaurants, or a few cafes, and put up posters. She had already put some banners up around the roundabout in New Malden, the fountain, and that area. So that was an interesting afternoon. I thought. Getting to know a few people.
Good. And then well, did we stop for food, or we had just coffee? Was it?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
No, it was just coffee.
Yeah,
because she had to go somewhere else afterwards.
Right, Bingsu, I think it was the cafe.
Yes, we chose Bingsu in the end. But we were going to actually deliver our business cards around the businesses around here, which we were meant to do a couple of months ago. But we thought, hang on a minute, we're asking them to put a poster up. Yeah. And then we give them business card for something completely different. We thought it was a bit cheeky. Right. Well, I don't know. Yes. I thought, but it was.
Oh yes, the thing we did. The other restaurant we went to was the K Barbecue.
I completely forgot about
it. Is it KBBQ? What's the
No, it's K-Town.
K-Town.
Yeah.
K-Town Korean barbecue.
I'm glad you mentioned this.
And the buffet, basically a buffet thing. We went there for my birthday, actually. We were going to go to an Indian restaurant, but they were closed that day, so we decided, well, we were thinking, where else should we go? And then we just happened to pass by there, and they were open for lunch, and they had a pretty good deal on. It was like 10 quid for...
the thing is, I knew about this. There's always massive queues there. There was, especially last August, when there was a 50% discount, but there's always queues. A lot of popular with Filipinos, Koreans, and loads of people. But I knew that you could get the buffet for £20. That's the barbecue buffet. Right. So we did the non-barbecue one, which we thought was a vegetarian, but it's not quite. It's
I mean, they have vegetables, but they also have meat and fish and things.
But, they have chicken and in like fried.
But chickens. I mean, there's enough there that you can make a meal out of just vegetables if you wanted to.
It was actually for your birthday. We won't say when that was.
I mean,
What did you say that? Yeah.
Well, that's fine. But anyway, so it was pretty good. I mean, it was quite packed with people in there that day we went. But
but it wasn't as. Well, I was grateful that we did go that time of day. It was about 3:30, was it, or 5? No, sorry,
no,
it was about 1. 12. Yeah, sorry,
12:30.
I'm getting confused because the Indian wasn't opening till 3:30, and we thought that was a bit odd. But anyway, and it was good that it was busy, but there was only a couple of tables. There was no queue.
Yeah, we had our own table.
But it was very filling, even just one load of Korean food, and it was very. We were saying how healthy some parts were, and some other parts were. Like the rice, obviously, was great. That they've got fried rice. They've got rice on its own. They've got sushi, which has rice. Yeah. No, sorry, kimbap. Yeah. No, it was sushi, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was sushi.
Yeah, sorry,
sushi, Right.
But anyway, I liked it. Yeah, so it was a mixture of not so healthy and healthy, and ice cream, which was included in the price.
Yes.
And what was the other thing? Ice cream, and also all those salads and fruits and things. Yeah, that was. Yeah, I'm glad we went. We should go there again at some point.
We will.
We're not sure who owns it. We think it's a Korean, but there's not just Korean workers there.
Yeah, well, I think Hanguk Kappa knows the owner.
Oh, yes, that was the other, yeah. Which he
either
knows.
A relative or friend or something.
Yeah, she knows the one near it, doesn't she? Chicken beers. Yeah. That's it. Oh, you just reminded me of that. Yeah. Actually, there's one other thing I did, talking about, we're not going to talk about Korean restaurants the whole show, but we don't go to that many anyway, believe it or not. But I went to Chamjosirak, where we've spoken about it before. It's near Choice Cafe, Choice. And I went there, but it was the same, I went there. I just fancied one of their kimbaps, kimbap with the tuna chili one, which they kind of do for us, for me, whatever.
It's the no so copo special.
Yeah. They kind of don't do one, but we said, can we have the tuna mixed with the chili one? They went, oh, okay, yeah. No, that's right. No so copo, and I was sort of thinking, no, none of that. But yeah, but it was the same day. I was gonna go and see, or at least access, one of the London Korean film festival films, and I had that for a snack in the early evening,
right?
And then I decided what I was going to watch, and funny enough, the film I watched, which we're going to talk about in a second, it was all about kimbap, or at least it revolved around cafe and kimbap, and I thought the film's called Rolling. The clue is there in the title, but it's not until you know what the film's about. And I'm sure it's
rolling kimbap rolls.
And I'm sure it probably has another meaning as well. But so I was kind of like, I'm just sitting down to watch this, and I've just had that.
Perfect timing. Yes. And that movie is kind of interesting. It's a short. I mean, it's not a short film, but it is a short-ish film. It's a feature, but it's a short. It's playing in the film festival, the London Korean Film Festival. We have the bag here in case you were wondering.
There. We've got the T-shirt, almost. The bag.
So, but that film is interesting because, at least for me, it was interesting that it's set during. They filmed it during COVID times, and it's in the film. They include that in the film, that they're wearing the. Sort of face COVID shield when they're making the food, and then they mention COVID actually in the film, how it's affecting businesses and things like that. Yeah,
that's it. We'll give it a little review in a well, we're going to skip over those films. We've seen quite a few. We'll skip over them, but yes, you're right. That was one thing that I was really, it surprised me, but it works. It's still going to be relevant. Yeah. And it's irrelevant to the story. It's all very quiet.
It's not like COVID is the main subject or something. It's just a part of the
plastic.
Film.
But it kind of, again, we're getting into the film here, but it does kind of suit the quietness of the film. The streets are empty-ish as well. But it felt like that. Yeah. But so that was that. What was have you been up to anything else? I can't remember.
Aside from watching films
stuff
at the festival, we went to 2 so far. No, 2 so far in person.
We hope you enjoyed last week's episode, which was for people that were watching on YouTube, the video version. Then you would have had access to some outtakes at the end, some video outtakes, but also for the audio listeners. Then hopefully it was enjoyable as well. But we talked in the last show about the London Korean Film Festival. We touched on it briefly before. We talked about Mubi because they've got a Korean season on.
And that's still continuing, by the way.
That's right. Yeah, they're gradually adding the films, aren't they? They've now, I think there's 4 now out of 6. Yeah. And we talked about Maisie, who's she's our guest in this show. She's our person we're going to interview, or you're going to hear the interview. Again, people that are watching this. Although this podcast is available as a video and audio, the interview we did with Maisie was an audio interview. However, as you may have noticed at the start of the show, we played a tiny little snippet of her being a Squid Game character, or at least in costume. And so at the very end of this week's episode, after the credits, there'll be just a couple of snippets from that conversation she did on that live stream she did on Instagram, IGTV. But so we hope you enjoyed that show last week, and we'll go to the main section, which we touched on just now. Tim kindly mentioned about the subjects.
The London Korean Film Festival.
The London Korean Film Festival, but also Rolling. And that. So as Tim mentioned just now, we saw 2 films in the cinema. So far, up to when we're recording this now on the 13th. We've still got a couple to come.
One officially that we're going to review, and then we're also thinking to go to the closing film as well, which
we are going. I'm going to that. You're going to that. Yeah, cool. Yeah, we're both. And Im Sang Soo's going to be there for that. He's a very well known. Q&A. He's also in town. For a couple of other films, one the Housemaid, the remake of The Housemaid, which we've both seen. And what's the other one? He's
Good Lawyer's Wife.
That's it. Yeah. That's got Moonsori and
Yoon
loads of others.
Jong is also in that. Yeah.
Actually, if you go to my website, if you're interested, minimovie.com, a few years ago, we did an interview with Moonsori. And that's group interview. Well. Yes, that's right. Tim was there. Yeah. It was a group interview. She was in London, but it was really good. Yeah. Hopefully, if you do go to that my website, you'll find that. So we're gonna. Oh yeah, one more film we're hoping to go and see, which is Sunday. Sorry, that's the 14th. Yeah, that's right.
Shades of the Heart.
Director KIMJANG.
Yes, right, and he's also going to be there in person to give a Q&A.
Yeah, there's a couple of Q&As this year, or at least a couple of directors. And I'm actually going to run over, all being well, I'm going to run over to see the other film, which you've already seen, called Josie, or Jose, at the Cine Lumiere,
the French
Institute.
Yes, right.
In Kensington,
Yeah, and that's by the same director as Shades of the Heart, right? So he's going to do 2 Q&As in the same day, apparently. So
but the two...
Busy guy.
Busy, Although at least he'll have some time between the screenings and the Q&As, the whole film, and I'll have to run over there. Yeah. I'll have to probably miss his first Q&A, but hey, that's the way it is.
And I think I saw that he's been here at least for a couple of days already. So I'm assuming he's here for maybe a week or so.
That's right. Yeah.
Look around.
And also, I'm not sure if I'll give a link to this or not, but I found some of his shorts online, and I'm going to watch them hopefully this weekend. Yeah. Including the camera one. What's it called? How to make a Polaroid camera or something like that. But there's a few of his other shorts on there, so I'm hoping to see that, because I really wanted to go to the Maison Seine, where the shorts compilations they did this year. They do them almost every year, but they don't always have them for free for a start in the KCC. But by the time I got round to looking, they'd sold out and fully booked, which is fair enough.
Yeah, it happens. Yeah.
So we went to see 2 films, but 2 different venues. Yeah. One was Canola. Yeah. At
the ICA, Institute of Contemporary Arts.
Yeah. Yeah. I thought when I watched it, I thought I'd seen that film, but it was 2016, I think. But I remembered that even though I covered the festival most years, that year, I mean, like a lot of years, I was in Korea, and I think it might have been that time, so I couldn't find any details. Yeah. But we can say what happened at that event.
Oh so we showed up the ICA a bit early, about an hour early, and then right at the moment we arrived, this guy came up to us and he said, aren't you the guys from the Not So Korean podcast? So that was funny. We didn't expect to see a quote-unquote fan or viewer or however you want to call it.
Yeah, we should probably give him a shout-out.
Yeah. You remember his name? Elliot,
Elliot, that's right. Yeah. No, actually, I did remember his name, but I suddenly thought, hang on. Well, you know what it was? I was speaking to him that night, and then near the end, I think I called him Oliver, and I suddenly thought. So then I was thinking, hang on, is his name Oliver? No, but it's Elliot. But he's one of the subscribers, at least on YouTube. I think he said he subscribed on Spotify first or something, but then he heard us talking about a video and went to YouTube, which was really nice of him. Yeah. But the weird thing was, as you've just said, he. We were standing outside. Yeah. It was a bit miserable evening, I think. Yeah. But we were standing outside, literally the front doors, and he came up to us and said that, and we had our masks on, I think, or at least you did. Yeah. And he said no, and the weird thing was, it could have been like anyone that coming up to us, and it could have been more than just us standing there, but it was just us two and him. Yeah. And we said, that was just odd that he kind of, it was almost like he had eagle eyes. He kind of spotted those 2 guys are the podcast guys. And we were standing kind of at the doorways like bouncers or something, doormen, I don't know, something like that. It was very strange. But we went inside, we had a nice chat to him before the film. I love that film personally. I mean,
Canola. Yoon Jung, of course, stars as the grandmother. Do you want to explain a little bit about the plot, or
we can just? I mean, you can talk about it if you want.
She plays this grandma of a young girl who goes missing one day in a marketplace, and they don't know what happened to her. And then, I guess it's about 10 years later.
Yeah, I think it's 10. Yeah.
It turns out that I don't want to get into spoilers too much, but. No. A girl claiming to be her granddaughter may or may not be her granddaughter. You'll have to see the film. But so she shows up, and then she kind of says, "Oh, well, yeah, I'm this missing girl, and you know, here I am. I'm still alive." And so she goes back to live with her in Jeju. She was living in Seoul for a while.
I was a bit confused later in the film, because at the beginning there was like some words on the poem on the screen, and it mentioned the port of Busan. It was one of these folk songs, and I suddenly thought in Busan, but I thought, no, this can't be. The diving women, the rocks, and I thought, no, this is definitely Jeju, but it's just that poem that thrown me. I don't know. I'd obviously switched off.
That's all right. But most of the film takes place in Jeju Island. Some beautiful scenery shots.
The colour was really nice. And even the poster shows you the fields of flowers. Was it grape or
canola?
Canola. That is canola. Sorry, yes, that is canola. Yeah. But yes, it was. But it was a beautiful shot. But I just kept thinking I'd seen a story before. Or maybe I had. Maybe it was a completely different film. But it was very original, this film.
Yeah, it's a really nice story and
bit of shamanism, and
it's quite sad in parts.
Yeah, but the audience were very emotional.
Many Korean films are a bit melodramatic, but if you like that sort of thing, then you'll probably enjoy this. Yeah.
So the other one, and the only other one we have seen at the actual festival, is the Book of Fish.
Book of Fish.
Tim, we were choosing which ones to see. We weren't necessarily going to go together, but we had some access to go. We had sort of been granted access to see a couple as well. So Tim kind of said it would be interesting, and the film director, again, sorry to plug my website, but if you go to miniminimovie.com. You can find somewhere on there an interview with Lee Joo-nik, and he's made lots of well-known Korean films.
And a lot of historical dramas, which this is also one of them. So
I was a bit I wasn't.
Yeah, Jason's not as much into those types of films as I am. But I mean, it depends.
It was because it's a Joseon Dynasty. And as soon as I see that, and I think, not that, I know that Joseon Dynasty is quite vast range, but I guess the ones I've seen, maybe the king gets
involving
poisoned,
the palace, intrigue or something.
But you're right, this had a completely different story. It was about a book, funny enough, it's in the title.
A Book of Fish. But actually, I was surprised how little it was about the fish, actually. There were some parts about that, but there was a lot more to it than just fish.
Because then it's quite, I related to a couple of bits, but this guy was really, we won't give too much away, but I know it's based loosely on a true story, isn't it, or the real
the historical
facts.
Events, but obviously they must have made up a lot of it. But
so this guy, when he's on this island, I won't say how he got there or why, but he's there, and he decides to write this Book of Fish because this other person has all this knowledge of fish and
in the local area.
In the local area. Sorry,
but the guy who's in the who's lived there all this time, he's a sort of fisherman, but he seems to do several different things.
That was the thing. But talking of several different things, one thing that I related to, and I probably mentioned to you, was that not only did he have an idea to write a book, this other character at some point explains about these Filipinos in Jeju, and the writer goes, I'd like to write a book about that. And it's like, I suddenly thought, as a documentary maker or a filmmaker, I suddenly get an idea, and it's like, I want to make, I could relate to that, him as a... Jesus.
And then his brother apparently had written like 200 books while he was in his exile from court life or whatever. Both of these guys have been exiled for their... I'm not sure the exact reasons why they were exiled. I think it was some reason they weren't favored by the king at that time.
Yeah, it was a bit tricky, wasn't it? Wasn't it to do with the Catholic?
Yeah, it might have been something to do with that. The fact that
I was actually a bit confused. But I thought
they were Catholics.
I thought I was.
They were Catholics, whereas the king was, of course, Confucian, so he was kind of anti-Catholic. So they were banished.
Yeah, there were two others. Yeah, that's
Seoul.
Right. But I liked it. I know it was really good. It was shot in monochrome.
Black and white.
It looked lovely.
Nice cinematography.
Yeah, there was one bit. I wasn't too sure about the words used in it. Their translation. I'm not saying translation was bad because it was good.
Yeah,
but there were some words.
Perfect. Yeah.
Someone said something like, what the Dickens.
Yes.
I don't think back then they would have. I don't know what Dickens would have.
Yeah, no.
And there was something else about. It wasn't douchebag, but it was something.
No, well, there's a lot of punk going on. I'm like, okay, punk didn't come around until the 70s or something.
Yeah, again, that happens. If people find these modern, they could find some words, but that was just my little gripe. I mean, But I did like it. I did wonder, there was this giant fish in one scene. He carries this giant fish.
Yeah, huge.
And, yeah, and I thought, well, clearly that's not real.
Yeah.
But it must have been. I thought that's a great. You know, when people do black and white films, and some people say, you know, you can hide the like the Elephant Man years ago. You can hide the techniques, but either way, that looked real, even in monochrome. Yeah. I'm sure it did in colour.
Yeah, no, it was amazing.
Could be CGI, I don't know.
Yeah.
I liked it. We came out of that screening. We saw Ant. I had a chat with Ant Bittel before, which is
Anton Bittel. He did a introduction to the film before the film.
Yes, he and I had a little chat to him before. He asked me about my short film as well, but it was he did a lovely little introduction of the film. And we saw on the way out, of course, Mr. Philip Gowman.
Yes.
We haven't seen him for a while due to events and due to COVID.
Yeah, and he runs the London Korean Links website, which you should know by now if you don't already.
Well, we might have a couple of mentioned it a few times, but LondonKoreanLinks.net. If you want to know, like Tim just said, if you want to know anything that's going on in this country, in the UK,
to Korea.
You find it. It's not just London, but it's mainly London. But it's York. It's wherever there's an event, whether it's a music festival in Cardiff or Manchester or whatever. He's there. Right. He's there literally, or he's there. He's there literally or
virtually.
For someone does it literally. That's what I'm trying to say. So those two films we can sort of attest to seeing in the cinemas, and there's a couple more. Which we've also seen since the last screening. Since the last show. Yeah. There was a couple we reviewed on that. Awoke and Loners. Yes. And we're not going to delve too much into these other ones, but we will.
So we mentioned Rolling already. Yes. Yeah, that's one that we watched, and we both liked that one. I wouldn't say really it's amazing, but it's a good.
Yeah, I like it's quiet films. It's very. Really,
that's a phrase we often say. It's good for what it is.
Yeah, well, I'd say that.
But
because I get, especially Hollywood films, I go, well, it's good for what it is. It's not nothing new.
And I could actually say the same for Collectors, which is it's more. You haven't watched that one, but just briefly, it's sort of it deals with history a little bit, but it's not set in a historical time period. It's in the modern day. Okay. But it's about these people who basically steal historical objects, like Korean cultural heritage objects, and try to sell them on the black market or whatever to these rich people or whatever who want to collect art pieces. And so, but it's sort of an entertaining.
Yeah, you said it was something
action, almost like an action. Movie.
Did you give an example or something? You just said it was entertainment. Yeah, I kind of almost know the type. Not like Beast Clutching at Straws or something, but something like another film I was thinking about from years ago.
It's just for fun, basically. Yeah, it's nothing too serious.
I will see it.
Yeah. So. If you like that kind of movie, like Doduk Doodle, do you remember that? The English title, I'm trying to remember. It's with Jun Ji-hyun and a bunch of other famous actors that I don't remember.
So it's an ensemble piece, was it? Yes. I bet you might be thinking of the same one. Was it about bank robbing, was it?
Something similar to that, I think so. Or it may have been that, Anyway, it was about it was in the Korean Film Festival 8 years ago or something.
Yeah, that rings a bell.
The Thieves, I think.
Oh, Thieves, that was
So it's quite similar to that, except it's more focused on historical stuff. But,
okay.
So if you like that, you may enjoy this. Yeah. But if that's not really your genre, you probably won't get much out of it. Yeah.
But going back to Rolling, just to because the plot did we talk about the plot? No, just to briefly go over the plot. I think. We can safely say that it was. Well, actually, it's difficult to explain because obviously this girl she's working with KIMJANG. Yeah. But she's it's her mother's store. She needs to pay her rent. That's it. Her mother wanted to.
Well, her mother's mother, her grandmother, the main character's grandmother gets sick. Yeah, and the mother has to go away somewhere. I'm not sure exactly where. Yeah. And so she asked her daughter to take care of the shop while she's away, the kimbap restaurant. It's just a small place. Yeah. And then you've probably seen these kind of places in Korea everywhere. If you,
and it was interesting actually because there's one bit where she's on Instagram. It's their own account, and I did look on Instagram to see if that existed, but it doesn't seem to account. I just thought it might be there just for fun. I couldn't find it. But just
but there's a bit of romance in it as well.
A little bit, yeah.
It's not overly romantic,
but she has to learn the trade, and she's smoking, and it's just a very simple film.
Yeah, it's a quiet movie, but if you enjoy that kind of movie,
I thought it was perfect for me that day. But then also one thing was that we mentioned earlier about the COVID relevancy. The fact that they've made it like it is now, which is brilliant. I mean, I know when I've made a film, or when I was in the process of making it, COVID came, and you do think, do you tell the story so that it's that's what's happening?
Yeah, I mean, I've seen now I've seen quite a few films that were made during COVID, but almost none of them mention COVID in the movie. Or I've heard there are COVID films which are specifically about COVID, where they try to make it a thing, like we're in the middle of a pandemic.
Yeah, it's always that, isn't it? It's normally always that. Yeah.
Whereas this movie, it just treats it as sort of just a side element that exists within this world, which is interesting. Yeah.
What I did like about the film, though, was these conversations on the phone with her mother. Yeah. Because especially when at one point you think she's having a conversation with her mother, you think, it's just her holding the phone up. And they go around to turn it, the camera turns around, and she is actually having a conversation. I like that. It was just a nice slow take. But shot. But also at one point she was saying, how are things there with her away where her mum was? And I wondered at one point, I know it's been done in other films, whether she was away, but just testing whether she could run the place on her own, and her grandmother was actually not that bad.
But I don't know. Well, it turns out.
Well,
something happens, but anyway.
Exactly. We won't go into that. But so that brings us to the other one, which I can't speak about. Which was the other. What's the other one? Climbing, was it?
Yes, Climbing. It's an animated film. It's sort of about this woman who is a climber, but she mostly does indoor climbing. I guess she is a professional climber, but she practices on indoor climbing equipment. And anyway, it's quite a serious tale, actually. It seems to be about a fear of pregnancy, or possibly of miscarriage or abortion, or something related to pregnancy, and how women maybe process that experience, and how it may be traumatizing for certain people. And so it is almost like a horror film in some certain scenes.
Well, I saw a tiny snippet of it just to see what it was and which one I got and all that. But it was, it's not animation like the kind of the other Korean animation I've seen before. It's more like a kind of computer animation, but it's an adult film. Not that kind of adult film. It's an adult film, isn't it? It's
it's made for adults. It's definitely not for
interesting
kids. Yeah,
and it's not like King of Pigs, that kind of animation. It's it looked just very good animation.
I don't know. It wasn't personally my taste, but for other people, they may find it to be unique.
Yeah, maybe it was a bit more like Scanner Darkly or something. Was it not like that?
Yeah, I think it may have been rotoscoped.
Okay, rotoscoped. Maybe it was where they
animation over real actors acting, but I'm not sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
anyways,
that's good. So we are, as Tim said, that's the films we have seen at the London Korean Film Festival, and we're still going to see a couple more.
Yeah.
And obviously we'll be devouring Korean films anyway when the festival's finished, when we get a chance.
Yeah, on Mubi I've seen a couple of the other ones, but we can talk about those later some other time.
Yeah. So we've got Maisie's interview coming up. It'll be an audio interview, so it won't affect you guys listening on Spotify or Apple Music or any other platform out there. But we've got that coming up. Shall we just talk about the other main subject, which is the KIMJANG festival?
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. We spoke about.
So that's on the 20th.
Yes. Which is not long from when this podcast releases. Right. It might be a day or two.
And that will be, again, in New Malden.
Yes. We were there, So we were there a couple of years ago, again, before COVID came. We were there actually in the, they did last year's online, didn't they? It was a kind of a...
Right.
But they've, so we were there a couple of years ago. Dia on Korea, she came to meet us, and there was some music in the Methodist Church. They are using the Methodist Church this year. But they won't. I don't think they're having music, but they're having lots going on in there. Somewhere on the high street, there's going to be a few marquees with food, which is what they did before, and some showing how to make it. Yeah, it's pretty obligatory for the festival. I haven't got a flyer to hand, but it's there's quite a bit going on.
There's a poster over there if you could pull up the poster.
I forgot we had some. Yeah.
Right,
so I'll grab it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because we've been doing the job of poster people, whatever that is. You take one, I'll take the other.
Yeah.
I can read it. So yeah, we've been involved with Justina Jang's work, or her curating, if you like, for a while. So it's as it says, sharing is giving. KIMJANG, making and sharing kimchi. The program, the High Street. The program is 12 till 4 on the basically the High Street, but they just call it's a street market. 12 till 4. St George's Square 1 to 4. So basically, it's if you are coming, come to from late morning, midday onwards till stay for a couple of hours or something. It's on. Then you got, as I said, the Methodist Church. You got coffee morning. So you could come earlier if you want to. That's the 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. Midday. That's the coffee morning. Fundraising for the London Korean School. Kimchi tasting 1 p.m. to 2:30 p.m. A seminar 3 p.m. to 4 p.m. The importance of the design in the food industry, led by Professor Songju and Industrial Design Department at Jeonju University. Oh yes, she mentioned to us they're flying over from.
Yeah, he's flying all the way from Jeonju, and so he's quite a well-known person, I think, in that field. So.
Yeah, and anyone who knows Jeonju will know that they're also, not as well as kimchi, they're known for their platter of dishes, or what you call a platter.
Food
there is
in general,
a word for it,
Korean
isn't
food, but side dishes, you mean?
Yeah, those, but I mean, you could like
bibimbap, of course.
Yes, that's that's right. And going back to St George's Square, I'm lucky you mentioned you've still got this, because I was trying to remember all this off the top of my head. By the way, for any audio listeners, we are actually
we're looking at a poster right now.
Yeah, we are actually just reading from the poster, so that's how high tech this episode is. But the kimchi making classes are led by Professor Suin Kim, Korean Culinary Department at Jeonju. So she's a different one coming from.
Yeah, so two people coming from Jeonju.
Yeah, there is children go for free, but there is a ticket price for adults, but it's only £7, and for me, I mean, I don't think that's too bad. Sponsored by, or special thanks to the Korean Resident Society and all these other aspects of Korean culture, and who's the other one? Kingston upon Thames, of course. They're always helping out these events. As we always put links for KBC in our program details. So if you ever want to see what they do, you can find it there. But that's that. But also touching on kimchi and something we've spoken about before. There we are going. God, this show is going to happen. It's the one where we've interviewed the decorators.
Yes,
called
the decorators.
Well, we interviewed these two. Well, there's a few of them I think called the decorators, and they were involved with this kimchi. What do you call it? Well, it's a kimchi making pool almost. Mat. Sorry.
For making tons of kimchi, basically.
Yeah. In Korea, the old style was to literally do it like that. Yeah. But they did this really strange shaped one, very artistic. What we were involved with, it was a very fancy place, and in the port,
Stanley Picker house.
Which we've actually been invited to a special. I'm not sure we can say when it is, but there's actually something they're doing at that place in the near future.
The Stanley Picker Gallery.
Yes, that's the gallery. Sorry, Kingston, it gets confusing because Stanley Picker's
two different places, but it's run, I think, by the same people.
Yes, right. Yeah, you're correct.
Or at least it's named after the same person.
They might even be
Stanley Picker.
Yeah, and the two people we met that day and interviewed, who you'll hear hopefully in the next episode, they might be making an appearance or saying hi at the KIMJANG festival.
Right.
On the 20th.
Yeah. So if you're there, you may see them. Hopefully.
Yeah. So we're gonna kind of do an episode which is probably devoted to kimchi or KIMJANG or kimchi and art and whatever in the next episode. Yeah. Which will cover the festival that you were talking about now. Yeah. A mini review.
KIMJANG. And then the Picker Gallery event, and then
that also.
There's another festival coming up.
Yes, there is another which we're
festival.
We're not attending that. Well, I'm not.
And we're not officially involved with that one, but we thought we should at least briefly mention it. That it's involving a lot of restaurants, especially in central London, but I believe there are also some in New Malden and possibly Kingston area. So they're basically just promoting kimchi. I don't know if they give some free kimchi or you have to order some special kimchi or something.
Not too sure. I haven't really looked into it, but I know you've seen a bit.
Yeah, if you're interested in that, just search like Kimchi Festival London.
Yeah, it's all over Facebook.
It starts on November 22nd. I'm not exactly sure how long it runs, but it should be going for at least a week or so.
Yeah, and like Tim said, it's a different festival. It's not really competing with the other one. It's done in such a different way. So.
Yeah, we definitely recommend the KIMJANG Festival more than that one, but just so you know, there is another.
We're that biased.
Yeah.
No, because we really do like what they do, especially for the local area, which is Korean.
Yeah, but in case you're not in New Malden or you can't get down here for that festival, just so you know, there is something else happening later in the month in central London if you're based there.
I wonder if I haven't looked, but I wonder if Philip Coleman has actually put that on his page.
We'll check with him.
I think maybe they've posted. There's also London Korean Links group where even events that don't get put on his page, on his website. Yeah. People put stuff on there, like it's a group. Like we've actually got a group.
Yes, it's called Not So Korean Podcast.
Not to be confused with
the Not So Korean Podcast.
So if you look up Not So Korean Podcast, it's Not So Korean Podcast, you'll see one that will say in small writing page and one that says group. Yeah. If you're lucky, it says that. So
we have the Not So Korean Podcast page and we have Not So Korean Podcast group.
That's right. Yeah, it confuses us as well, but we have to. We have
just
to
differentiate them slightly. We remove the from.
And of course,
group.
While we're talking about it, we do have our email address, which is notsokoreanpodcast@gmail.com, which we set up before. Yeah.
But anyone is welcome to post things in our group.
Yeah, and that's actually happened a couple of times. But there's one we'll talk about very briefly at the end in our news section. No, we're going to talk about it then. Well, either way, we will. Yeah. Shall we just? Yeah, that's fine. So, shall we now? I think we should now go to Maisie's little story about Maisie. We have mentioned her before.
Yeah, we talked about her last week quite a bit.
So she's well. If for anyone who hasn't heard that show, she's very into Korean culture. She lived over there, and she's a videographer like myself, and she
model and many other things.
What was that last thing?
She's a model and many other things. I mean, she's as I called her, a Renaissance woman. Yeah. By the fact that she does
all these things. Yeah. And also the other thing, Waegukins.
Yes, Waegukins is I believe it's only on Instagram, but I could be wrong about that.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I think it's definitely mainly.
It's definitely on Instagram, and they do memes of things that are related to funny Korean incidents or related experiences.
Quite well put together.
Related to Korean.
I don't keep up
But we'll
with
put that all in the description, and I think even at the beginning of the interview or during the interview, she talks about these things as well.
Yeah, that's it. So we won't do too much, and we have covered a little bit last week, and we'll put links in the in the description. So we'll basically what we'll do now. As I say, you might have been lucky enough to witness at the very beginning a snippet of her in the Squid Game costume, which we're going to put at the end of the credits, kind of some snippets from that 15-minute live stream she did, which is quite funny. She mentions this a few times as well. Yeah. But in the meantime, we'll let you listen to the interview. Yeah, should we take it over to that now? Okay, we'll go. You can listen to this interview with Maisie Rose. Just a quick note to our viewers or listeners. This interview took place in a sort of a very nice building in Kingston, quite historic. And as a result, the room that we use, the area, it gives off quite an echoey sound. And as much as we've tried to fix that in the audio mixes, sound editing and sound mixing, there are still moments and pieces of this interview that you can sound sort of echoey or even slightly at a distance. The mic setup we had, because it was a large room, which meant we had a large sort of table area, so we had to pass the mic equipment around as and when we could, as best we could. So anyway, please enjoy this interview with Maisie, and if you stay tuned to the end, you'll also hear us talking about it. And also at the end of the credits of this episode, as we mentioned, there'll be some footage from Maisie's amusing and interesting Instagram post whether you watch that, whether you're viewing that or listening to it, please stay tuned. Thank you. So this is Jay, and Tim is with me, and we are with a special guest, and that is Maisie, and she's going to tell us a few things, and we're going to ask her a few things about her life and her times with the Korea connection with Korea and all that. So shall I ask the first question? And if would you be able to tell us, first of all, introduce yourself, your name, and perhaps a bit more about yourself, if that's all right.
Yeah. So my name's Maisie, and in the UK I do modelling and video work. I've recently started out as a videographer, but I went to Korea and I met Tim there, obviously, and he's doing translation now, so I was like asking for advice on that when I was starting to get into translation, but we just kind of kept in contact recently, and you, Jay, I've been stalking you online, and this is the first time we've met, so...
That's right. Nice to feel wanted.
Yeah.
Not wanted, but stalked.
Right, so how did you first get involved with Korean culture, actually? Yeah.
How did I get into it? I think it's like the same with most people my age. You're on YouTube, you find K-pop. Me and my best friend Nikki kind of found it at the same time, and we started being interested in the language at the same time. So we clicked really instantly through that, and because we were learning Korean at the same time, obviously our levels grew at the exact same rate, which is really weird. So the fact that I had such a close friend through this connection, and I fell in love with the language since falling out of love with K-pop, so that led me into dramas, into podcasts, and the culture and the food. It's just something that's always been like, I don't know, interesting to me. So I've been a few times. Really want to go back. Obviously I can't. Yeah. So I've just been kind of like sat at home on my laptop learning how to make kimchi.
Right. Well, interesting. So you said you fell out of love with K-pop. Why was that?
Nothing really happened as such. I mean, when I went to Korea, obviously I worked there for a little bit, and I worked in the K-pop industry for a bit, and when I was in the UK, when I was much younger, I did a lot of press photography for concerts and stuff, so I'd go backstage and I'd see, you know, kind of what's going on behind the scenes, and not a lot of it I agreed with. But for the longest time I was able to just think, well, the music was coming out regardless whether I listened to it or not, someone's going to enjoy it. But then I think when the second generation kind of ended, and then all these other groups came out, it was just moving so fast, and I just couldn't keep up, and now I don't even know what's happening anymore. I think 21 breaking up was me being like, I can't keep up now that they're gone, I have nothing to latch on to.
Right.
Yes, because I kind of, I had a smile when you said you fell out of love with K-pop, because it's quite well known, or at least we've made it well known on this podcast, maybe too well known, that I'm not a big pro K-pop advocate.
Well, you like
There's
it?
different reasons. No, I'm not.
I'm
not. Sorry.
Right.
So, but when you said what goes on behind the scenes, and obviously I don't expect you to talk about that, but it's interesting that that's one of the reasons. And also for me, though, personally, it's because of it goes back to when I was young, and it was about singer-songwriters and people that make their own music. And I know that there might be a couple of groups that do, but there's 300 or so of those groups that don't, you know, and they're just puppets. And I just feel like, sorry, this is more of a comment,
Yeah.
but the indie music that's below, that's sort of, it should be on top, and the K-pop should be beneath.
You know what, I really like the indie stuff. Like, I've got a cafe playlist on my phone, on my Spotify, that I just made myself, and it's all just indie Korean artists. And obviously, because if you're learning the language, you've got to be hearing it a lot. And with things like that, they tend to be quite minimal and very soft, so it's really easy to hear the pronunciation. So I love things like that, and ballads and stuff. But when it comes to like songwriting, I remember when I was listening to 21, I was thinking like, they're so badass, but you don't think about what's going on behind it because you're 13, right?
Yeah.
So looking back, and with Blackpink coming out, and there's this one producer, Teddy, who does everything, and obviously he makes hits, like it takes off massively, but because this is one guy and no one else, it just sounds really similar now. Like all of it just sounds so samey.
Yeah, because sorry to go on about this, but yeah, in the 80s, I'm quite old now, but in the 80s there was, in the 80s, 90s, there's Stock Aitken and Waterman in this country, and they would write and produce all these artists, and really to music fans they were a laughing stock, but they sold loads. Oh, wow. But to me K-pop is like that, but people can't seem to see that, you know, so but obviously, you know, you were younger, and you know, it's just interesting. I
think when you're that age, you're not worrying too much about people behind it. But now, as a creator myself, I kind of see it, you know.
Yeah.
Right. So do you want to mention briefly how we met? Because it was through a mutual friend, actually.
Yeah.
Yes. I just remember who. I think it was Young.
Jonathan Lee or Jong Chan.
That was it. Yeah, that was it. Yeah. So I met everyone through him.
How did you know him?
I think. Oh, that was it. He used to live in the UK, and I have a lot of friends that are into Korean culture in the UK, and they all went through the same sort of process I did and fell out of love with K-pop. But he loves the UK, obviously, and he does music as well, so obviously there's a lot of influences there. So I met him through a friend of a friend, and somehow we just kept in contact. And when I went to Korea, he was like, let's just have a coffee or something, and we ended up hanging out, and then I met you guys. It was really fun.
Yeah, that's cool.
He's very British, isn't he? When you meet him, he speaks like the British accent, and he almost probably dresses that. But he's, the way he's into the British culture, it's probably like we are into Korean culture. And I think he misses it dearly. You know, he says he wants to swap places.
He lives. I don't know if he still lives there, but he went to the States, and he lives there or lived there for ages. So I just expected that British accent to have disappeared, but it's still as strong as ever. I'm amazed.
Yeah, and he's an avid listener of our podcast, actually. So if you're out there, Jongchan, wish you the best.
Thank you for introducing us.
And so, what kind of things were you doing in Korea while you were over there, and how long did you stay?
So I went 3 times. The first time was for my birthday when I was 18, just before I went to uni. And then during uni, I had a work placement at a video production company, which is the same people that do like BTS and stuff, which is where I started to get into the industry. And then when I went back, it was with the intention of working with that company again, but then they passed me on to their friends who was a label. And then I worked with them for a bit. It all went tits up. This is like the industry, like the work culture as well is all very, not something I want to support or be part of in the nicest way possible. So I ended up staying with my ticket for 3 months and only working for 2 weeks. So that was after I graduated. So after that I just treated it as my like graduation blowout.
I see. Okay. Yeah.
So this is something I'm interested in. The fact that you managed to get placement. Obviously, you just come from university, but is it easy for foreigner like you to get a placement in a foreign country, or is it like an exchange?
It was incredibly difficult. So my course at uni, between second and third year, you have to do a certain amount of weeks in like the industry on set. Mostly people would go to Pinewood or something, but I kind of already worked in the industry at that point, and I wanted to challenge myself. So I was like, I want to go to Korea. And by then, I was like making a music video for the course. So I contacted a bunch of Korean companies thinking like, I'll do something foreign. So I did that, and then I actually managed to get these guys, like 2 artists, so one duo and one singer, to come out to London. We filmed 2 music videos, and then I kept in contact with them. So just like off on the chance that they might say yes, I messaged them like, do you know anyone that I can like do my placement with? And bless them, they like went all out. They messaged everyone they know, and they gave me a list of people to choose from, and the one person I chose, they were like, yeah, let's do it. Right. So I think it is just about like who you know. And it is really difficult, especially as a foreigner who can't speak Korean perfectly, because my company I worked with couldn't speak any English. So obviously there was a bit of difficulty there, and I think Korean companies don't want to make things harder than it needs to be, obviously. Right. So it's who you know, how willing you are to put yourself out your comfort zone, and obviously language.
Right. Yeah, so you said you did have some issues with the work culture, but what were the positive things that you most miss about Korea?
Positive things. So I made so many good friends there, obviously both Korean and non-Korean. The food there is beautiful, and people in general tend to be really accepting in the sense that they understand you're foreign, they're not going to hold you to too much high standards, because Korean culture is so strict. But as a foreigner, you kind of get let off that a little bit. I don't know about you, but I definitely did. There's definitely awkward moments and things that I'm embarrassed by, but it's all part of the experience. And obviously like the architecture, I love walks, I love hikes, so I was always on like walking trails and stuff like that, which I love the nature out there, it's beautiful.
That's all right. So do you want to tell us about Waegukins and what exactly that is and how it came about?
So Waegukins, that best friend Nikki I was telling you about, she obviously we were really close. So she came to Korea when I was there for the 3rd time, when I was there for 3 months. We'd already dropped out of contact. Like, we were really close friends, and then she started uni, and obviously she drifted to get on with her own thing.
Right.
So we got back in contact when we were in Korea. Like, we didn't like plan to meet up. She was literally walking down the street. I bumped into her. She says, "Don't go in this club. It's bad." And we just started talking again after that. And when she came back to England, she missed Korea. She was like posting her photos, and she was like, "Oh, someone should make a meme out of this. It's so funny." So I made like 20 memes out of the same photo. And she was like, "This needs to go somewhere." And then we just carried on doing it, and now it's got like 10,000 followers.
Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah.
So have you? I mean, you must have received some interesting feedback from people looking at these memes and things. Is it mostly positive, or are there some trolls out there? Or
Well, surprisingly, we've tried to build like a wholesome, positive thing with
Right.
Weigugans. Like, obviously, we're taking the piss out of mistakes we make, but we're trying to do it in such a way that it's okay to make mistakes and it's okay to laugh at it. You know, we don't want people to beat themselves up for it. So luckily, we don't have any trolls, but we do have people that think they know everything. Not in a mean way, but they're like, if you misspell something, like if you just type it quickly,
Right.
like something is misspelled, you get like 50 comments saying, "Actually, it's this."
Right.
It's like,
Right.
thanks.
Right. So, I mean, what was the idea behind it? Just was it to? I assume it's not to make fun of Korea, but it's. I mean, how would you describe it exactly? Yeah.
So from my point of view, when I went in the third time, 3 months, I was on my own. I had friends there and stuff, but everyone's got their own thing. So I was alone quite a lot. And in a culture that's so different to ours, it's so easy to feel isolated and lonely. And people can tend to like go out, make a mistake, and then sit like the rest of the day just thinking, "Oh my god, I hate myself."
Yeah.
So we just kind of want to lighten that, and we kind of like give people something to relate to. If they're like feeling a bit lonely, they see our memes, they think, "Oh, I'm not the only one that does this."
That's a little bit like what Sue Lee is doing, isn't it? Like for mental health and stuff, in a way.
The singer.
Isn't it? Because Tim brought her stuff to my attention. We mentioned it in a couple of episodes, but I wondered, those people that who follow you, the 10,000 or so, they do you know what the percentage is, like international or British or Korean or?
So it's interesting because we thought it would just be foreigners, but we have a lot in France, a couple in the States, and then mostly in Korea, mostly like students and people in Korea. But we have quite a lot of Korean nationals, and I think they like seeing their country through our eyes. And obviously, we're not hating the country or anything. They just like to see these funny little experiences that they're not going to experience because you know, and Korea's very proud of their country, and so they should be. And so it's probably interesting for them to be like, "Oh, this is what it's like to be a foreigner."
Right. So, and also, you mentioned to me last year that you were getting into translation a little bit. So, are you doing any translation these days? And if so, what sort of translation are you doing? And also, what is your level in Korean right now? Yeah.
So back when I messaged you was when I was like, yes, I'm going to be perfect at Korean. I'm going to be doing everything all the time. And I was also like working part-time at a job I didn't really enjoy. So I was trying to find a way out of it. And I thought translation was like the way I wanted to go. And then I got a few jobs mostly through my friend's husband who works at a non-profit. And I started doing stuff for him and I really enjoy it. But I think I'm too creative to be, you know, reading and writing all day. And I do love it, but my brain just doesn't work like that. So, but I haven't really spoken Korean since. So the last time I checked, I would say I'm upper to mid-intermediate. Don't know if I still am. I haven't tested it since, but I like to believe that I am because I can still understand it. If I'm still listening to it daily, which I am, I can understand it when it comes to speaking. Obviously in England, you're not going to go to the shop and be like, "Hanajuseyo." They're going to be looking at you like you're mental.
Even if we try that in New Malden in Koreatown, we get looked at funny sometimes because obviously they're British Koreans, a lot of them are, you know. But I just want to say something about that because Tim, you translate from Korean to English and yours was the same. I mean, I don't know if you'd ever thought about it the other way around. Was it just too complex? I've heard it's more difficult.
I feel like to translate into a language, you have to be 100% fluent in a language because there's so many undertones and things like that, different ways you can say things, and if it's writing, it's easily misunderstood. So obviously I'm fluent in English, so it made sense to translate it into English. And obviously like Korean and English, they're so different. There's so many words in Korean that doesn't exist in English and vice versa. and word order and things like that. So I'd look at a Korean essay or an English essay, try and translate it in Korean. I just couldn't.
Yeah.
I don't know if you've ever tried it.
Yeah, I've tried, but it's definitely not easy. So that's why I'm sticking with Korean to English at the moment. But
and even that, I think, I think you said sometimes there are words, even Korean, that Korean way, the Korean to English is still tricky to get the exact.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, I think I'm gradually losing my English as well because I forget what is natural English. Even I don't know if you have that experience.
Literally, like when you're talking to someone and. Like I remember, because I started learning Korean at such a young age, it got to a point where I wasn't sure what was an English word and what wasn't. Like one thing that I remember thinking was manne. There's no real word for that in English. So as far as I was concerned, I saw this word everywhere. I followed a lot of K-pop groups, or the stands were saying it. I just thought it was an English word. So I said it to my friend once, and they had no idea. So I think my level of English is definitely hindered because of the fact that I learned Korean, and it does go, doesn't it? It does
definitely. Yeah, but you mentioned earlier that you are listening to Korean every day. So what does that entail exactly?
So I used to listen to a podcast by, I can't remember who, but he is Motivate Korean. Mm-hmm. Do you know?
I don't think so. No.
So he's a Korean teacher, but he's an American guy married to a Korean girl, and he teaches Korean in such a way that it's like he's trying to change your mindset and think like a Korean and speak like a Korean, and it's just a very different way of teaching it. But one of his best friends, I think his name's Johnson Lee, they do like 45-minute long podcasts together. They do the same podcast in English and in Korean, so it's really good for like if you want to hear the Korean podcast. And then sometimes I don't even go to the English, but if I do, I like to see like, oh, I missed that, or I picked up on that. Right. It's a good motivator, especially when you understand more than you expect to.
Right.
Well, that's commitment, isn't it? Doing a podcast for each language. That's quite something.
Yeah, definitely.
Something which is not related to what we were just talking about, but we find you now in Kingston right now anyway, and we're just up the road in New Malden. Do you go to New Malden, Koreatown, or have you've been there in the past? But have you been there lately, or what did you? If you have, what did you think of it?
So I
remember.
I do love it. Like especially missing Korea as much as I do, seeing the signs and things everywhere, and the food and the supermarket. You just go in and get some kimchi. Like I can't do that where I'm from. But I don't go as much as I'd like to because it is just food in restaurants. Like there needs to be more things to do. Like if I go to my boyfriend, like I want to go for a day out in New Malden, it would literally just be going there, eating, and then leaving. Right. So I think it would be nice if there was a bit more going on there, like other than food.
Yeah, well, there is the Kingston Korea Festival coming up on September 18th, but yeah, this may be airing after that happens. But anyway,
yes, we've got some other ones. Interviews and other things to mention, but I mean, New Malden, Koreatown is there's more cafes that are opening that are slightly more Korean, so there is a bit more I'd say to see. When I went there probably 8-9 years ago, 10 years ago, the first time, there wasn't a lot, as you said, there wasn't restaurants and things, but as where am I going with this?
I did notice that you were posting about some cafes and stuff there, and that is one of the things I miss about Korea, because I used to sit in the cafe and just do my work, and it was so chill. Like the atmosphere is amazing, so I'm quite happy to hear that.
Actually, that's made me think of something. Actually, we're talking about cafes. When you were in Korea, I wondered how you felt, because I personally, when I was in a cafe, I felt very safe. I actually felt I could leave my laptop there, go to the toilet or something, come back, whereas I would never do that here. And I wonder how you're, obviously it's a few, when was it you went there? What year was it?
Last time I went was 2018.
Yeah, okay, that wasn't long ago. Yeah, so did you feel that way, or did you feel a general safeness in the country itself?
100%. Like Korea has always felt so much safer. Like I used to go out to clubs and walk home on my own at stupid o'clock in the morning and not think twice about it. I think the dangerous situations with any country is if you go off with someone dodgy or anything like that, trust the wrong people. But that's just like keep your wits about you. But in the sense of like you can, as a woman walking home at that time of night, to feel safe, that's quite a big thing. And like you said, leaving your stuff in cafes, and like I just go to the toilet, leave my phone on the table, my Mac's there as well. I come back and it's still there.
Right.
Yeah, that's also don't have to Another thing leading on from that, I just remembered that you give your phone to someone to charge it behind the counter, even in a pub, and I would be keeping my eye on that all the time. Because someone's going to lean over and take it, but there it's kind of, I don't know, there's something about a bit of trust.
Yeah, I think they've got a community mindset. Like they don't say me a lot; they say we. And I think that kind of it's crazy how much a language can affect the culture. And I think that's one example of it, is that everything is ours. Like their streets are clean, their schools are probably clean. I don't know the school there, but I'm assuming they are. You leave your stuff out and it's safe. You give your phone, it's safe. Like it's very take care of each other. It's quite nice.
Right.
And of course, if somebody did do something bad, it would be around and people would know, so there's probably a bit of saving face as well.
Exactly, yeah. You don't want to be seen as that creep that takes people's phones. Probably looks a bit cheap, doesn't it?
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
But following up on that, obviously, as a white woman coming to Korea, you may have some different experiences than we might, or or even as a Korean woman might. I mean, was there any time that you did feel unsafe, or that you had some maybe unusual or uncomfortable experiences?
Yeah, very rarely. So I had a couple of really bad experiences there, which I won't go into. I had quite favourable treatment, I'm not going to deny that, as a white woman, and I'm quite tall as well. I got a lot of stares. Even if it genuinely got to the point where I'd covering my face and wearing really loose clothing just because I was just getting so self-conscious, everyone was looking at me. But then I did get favourable treatment, I would get freebies at restaurants and stuff, which benefited me, but at the same time it's a form of favouritism just because of the way I look. And if they can do that to me, then obviously black people have such a difficult time, but in the opposite direction, so they get treated badly for the way they look. So I think there needs to be some sort of fix there. But there was a case of homeless people coming up to me and chatting to me. There was this guy on the train and he was like, oh yeah, take my number, and then he'll text me. I'll block him and he'll come and find me at the next station and be like, why did you block me?
Wow. Okay.
I didn't know about that. I mean, I know that in South Korea there is problems with women and stuff, but it's normally within men are taking advantage of women, for example, and harassment, but that's normally within the culture. I mean, you hear it, even with India, you hear it for white women, but of course it's the stories that you hear about. But in Korea, I didn't think it happened that much with foreign women like you.
I think especially with K-pop and the younger generation going to Korea, they're quite vulnerable because they see Korea as a very safe country, which it is. They see the dramas and these lovely men, and they go to Korea, and if a guy was to go up to them and say oh, do you speak English, this language exchange, I would know that was a bit of a red flag, but to them it's just the Korean person being really, really kind because that's what they're exposed to. And that can land them in very dangerous situations. That and the cults. You've been approached by cults, haven't you? They come up to you and they're like, oh yeah, if you come over here, we'll teach you how to make kimchi. And you're I don't know about that.
Yeah, a traditional Korean experience, right?
Yeah. If you haven't done that, you're not Korean.
That was like the I mean, this is not a question again, it's a statement. But this was like the time I stayed in a shaman's place, Airbnb, and it was meant to be a traditional Korean experience, but when I got there, it was just me and these room of statues. I'm not religious or against anything like that, so it's fine, but then more people that I told throughout that week I was staying in that place, they went, oh, you got to be careful, and I couldn't sleep. Because the more people told me about it, I was,
you started to think back and think, oh, how bad could that have gotten?
It's an exorcist place, but there's business cards saying Korean exorcist. And it was a lovely place, but it was just...
Did you get an exorcist performed on you?
I don't, not to my knowledge.
Not to your knowledge.
But the woman was there, she was blind, so what it was, sorry, I bring to go on about this, but I booked it all with little language communication really. So I got to the place eventually, and it was the daughter who I was communicating with, who doesn't actually live there. So I got the access to go in there, and so it was just me there. I thought, this is great. I've got my own little flat. It's quite cheap. It was in Hongdae or Hapjeong, that area. I think it was there, or just that area. And then I opened this spare room, and that's when I saw the statues and stuff. Of course, it looks very Buddhist.
Yeah.
Buddhist. I was going to say Buddha-ish, Buddhist. But, But as I say, you know, I didn't mind about it. But then the more people were told, it was kind of I was putting my music on to go to sleep instead of just silence, because I was thinking next room to me. But as I say, then some mornings I would get up and she was there, the mother who was blind, and I didn't know what to do. I can't even introduce myself. She was going to be doing something.
Yeah.
So it was very weird, but I didn't cancel it. I just took some videos and footage.
So people are telling you like, oh, you got to be careful. You're like, but it's cheap.
Well, it was. Yeah, it was cheap for what it was. But yeah, and then I think about 3 days into it, I did fall over on the pavement and graze my face. I was drinking, I have to say.
That might have been.
But I thought, was that to do with that? I just got paranoid. But
like you do.
Maybe I was drinking to forget about it.
Yeah.
Didn't work. Anyway, when you were in Korea, and even now, did you notice this sort of, because you're a model for a start, do you notice the plastic surgery and how rife it is in South Korea? How common it is?
Yeah, so I found it interesting that you go to a tube station or something, underground, sorry, I don't know what you call it, but there'll be massive posters promoting plastic surgery. So, I mean, it's clearly very normalised there. And I generally don't have a problem with plastic surgery, I just don't like where it's come from as a society. So they've got very strict beauty standards. So if someone wants to like fix something here and there, that's fine. But if there's a whole country following the same standard, and like I've noticed all the foreign models they use have a certain look, and all the Korean models they use have a certain look. It's getting a bit better now, but the whole country is following this one standard, and obviously everyone's different. So I don't like how it's making young people feel about themselves to the point that they're willing to cut themselves up at such a young age.
Yeah.
Just to follow it, just to feel better about themselves, and there's quite a high suicide rate there, and that may be one of the reasons why.
Yeah.
So I don't like how emphasised it is. I think it's great, like the surgeons and stuff, very skilled, good prices, people from all over the world go over there to get their surgery, but the reason it started is something I don't agree with.
Yeah. Has anyone ever suggested to you that you should get plastic surgery, or is that something you've ever considered doing?
I've never considered it like seriously. I've seen people on Instagram and I'm like, oh, that would be nice, but then I think, because it's in my head, it's so easy for it to go wrong. So like you think it's going to look one way, and it could so easily not look that way. And I'm actually quite happy with how I look anyway, so I wouldn't want to go in it. And I've never had anyone, but luckily I work in the UK, and we're very, very good at seeing different looks as beauty.
Right.
So there's not one look fits all in the UK, especially with modelling. They like quirkiness, and they like to see something that they haven't seen before. So I haven't really been asked for that.
Right. So, but do you think in Korea that's more common? Like if models, like Korean models in Korea, do you think they get asked those kind of questions, or is it similar to the British industry, do you think?
It's hard to say. I think Korean models not so much, but I think people that serve Korean entertainment, like actors and musicians and K-pop stars, definitely do. But I think modelling is so based on how you look, it wouldn't make any financial sense for all the models in Korea to look the same. And I have seen quite a few Korean models that don't look, the same. And I think, especially with models, you want them to be able to appeal to places like Europe because of Fashion Week, and places like America because it looks good if you've worked in America, New York Fashion Week and all that. So it doesn't really work in their benefit to have them all look a certain way. Yeah. But musicians and actors definitely, because they need to appeal to a Korean audience, whereas models need to appeal to whatever industry they're working in, like makeup and beauty needs to have a certain look,
Right.
Yeah, and you just said about no point looking all the same, but even with people that aren't actresses in Korea, there are people girls especially, that are starting to look very similar to one another, and that's very sad. And I know that it probably stems from bullying. That's one thing when they look different or something, and that's such a such a grounded, sort of in the culture, they can't sort of change it. But what I was going to say was because basically, when I used to go there, the first couple of times, I didn't notice the surgery, but then a friend of mine said, "Oh yeah, he can tell when someone's had surgery." And now I couldn't, but then later, now I can. But it's so sad. And myself and Timothy were talking about it when youngsters, as young as, I don't know, quite, early teens, and even their families are suggesting or giving them money for surgery. And I wondered, there is a question here. And it's like, when you were there, did you notice it? Like, did you notice people that did have surgery? And I'm not talking the actors or people that you were working with. I'm talking, just everyday people. Apart from when sometimes they've still got something on the face, like holding it on.
Like pluck them out their nose.
Yeah, that's quite obvious. I just wondered how you noticed.
Some things are really obvious, like fillers in the cheeks and stuff. And then there's like double eyelid, which some people have naturally, and then some people don't. If it's done really well, it looks really natural. And no surgery, I can't really tell because I'm just not that observant. But not gonna lie, the surgery is so good in Korea. They're so talented, and a lot of the people that get it look amazing. Like, they look beautiful, but knowing that it's coming from such a deep-rooted insecurity that society is kind of manifested for them, means that even if they do get the surgery, they're still going to see something that's not quite right. So even if they spent all that money, they're still going to feel shit about themselves. So it's not really that fixed.
Yeah, and they don't see I don't know about thinking ahead, or when they have a child, they're not going to necessarily look like their parents. So that's a big thing to this society. I mean, you can tell when a child, it looks just like you, and it
makes me wonder if that's part of why they get surgery so young, because the parent has got the surgery, their child comes out looking like the parent looked like before surgery, and as soon as the child's 16, they're like, "Oh, can you just do this?" So we look the same.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Right. Have you heard about this person named Ollie Korea?
Ollie London.
Yeah, Ollie London. Sorry, Ollie London. So, I mean, he recently became famous in the news because he had a lot of surgery to look like a Korean person, or at least his image of a Korean person. So, I mean, do you have any opinion on that, or?
So, for Wiggins, my friend Nikki that I run it with is obsessed with him, and he's recently come out as non-binary as well, but also transracial. So he's calling himself Korean, and he's on TikTok and he's trying to teach you Korean, and he's like, "Annyeong haseyo," and then he's like, they've got Korean people responding to him saying like actual Korean, and then it's like, "Oh no, that's not how you say it." And you're watching it like, they're Korean, like they know their language, but again, that it's easy to laugh at these people, but I do feel very sad at the same time, because whether or not it's an act that he's found himself famous for and is playing up to, or it's genuine, it's all very, again, deep-rooted in insecurity and the need for attention. And that's a lot of money and a lot of health risks. Like, apparently his doctors just won't do anything to his nose now because it's so close to falling off. That's a lot of health risks associated with that, when you could just go to therapy,
Yeah, and we were talking about this same topic, and the fact that there's two things here. One of them is the fact that he's trying to be Korean, like looking Korean, and it's from K-pop, which I think personally is a very sad situation to want to look just like them. But the other side of things is he wants to be Korean, and we were asking one or two other people, and they have different opinions. So should he be allowed to become, is it a citizen? Should he be allowed?
Well, I don't think he's asking for citizenship. He just wants to be recognized as a Korean person.
And I wonder, so it's interesting. We're not asking for your opinion, but it's just an interesting, there's a couple of things to this.
Like, should people be allowed to change their... Because you do get foreigners born and raised, like there's that famous model, I think he's half Korean, half black, but he just looks black. And he's born and raised in Korea. But then you're kind of asking, like, if you move to Korea as a white person, or if you're born and raised as a foreign-looking person, you're kind of asking for a lot of hardships for yourself, because this model that I was telling you about, he has so many people coming up to him and trying to speak to him in English and asking him this and that and not wanting to be his friend at school, and he's like, he can't even speak English. He said he only speaks Korean, so why are they, this preconceived conception of him? It's just a lot of, like, there's a lot of treatment of foreigners over there that isn't quite level, so why would you want to put yourself through that, if you know what I mean?
Right. Well, anyway, so obviously not everything that you do is related to Korea. So do you want to tell us about what projects you're working on these days, or anything you want to plug for, before we go?
So at the moment, I've recently started up my business making videos, so videographer and editor. And like I said, I started that actually through Korea, so it's kind of related. I made those 2 Korean music videos, and they got put on CJ, and I was like, that's quite big for me. Like, it was my first thing, you know. Obviously they just paid to put it there, but you know, the recognition. So I've been doing quite a few music videos since then, and now I'm moving into hair and fashion, just to make it a bit more like UK based, because all my music stuff is with Korean artists, which obviously with COVID isn't happening. So and obviously I can do like lyric videos and stuff too, but if I want to go out and film, I need to stick with the hair and fashion industry. So that's what I'm doing at the moment, and it kind of links to my other job as well. I'm a model, and I've recently got signed to an agent, so hair season starting, I'm a hair model, so that's keeping me very busy at the moment as well.
Okay, cool.
You also do editing. That's something we've got in common, so videography and stuff, and also when I've seen your Instagram pictures, and you mentioned hair and stuff, I can tell that you always have very unique hair. Whenever style like today, it's very nice. Yeah,
there was this shoot I did. There was a video shoot, and it was so amazing, but I can't post any pictures of it. So I'm looking at these pictures every day, thinking like, when can I post these? But it was really cool because I had like really long blue wig, and then the shoot itself was UV, and they gave me like a UV contact lens and like UV makeup, and it was amazing. Like I can't wait for it to come out. But like things like that. Because it was a video shoot, I can just approach the videographer and be like, have you got any, like, needing assistance? You know?
I think I might have seen something with one eye where it had something in it.
If you follow my private account, I couldn't wait. I couldn't wait to post it, so it all goes on my spamming account, which I think you both follow. I'm so sorry for what you've got to see. It's just dog pictures.
I don't know. They come up, don't they? Suggestions, that's that person again, or you might have told me.
I've hidden it so it doesn't have my name in it or anything, but it's got my nickname.
Well, speaking of social media, where can people find you if they want to check out more of the things that you're involved with?
So my main account is Maisie Rose, or one word, and through that you can find my film account, which is _MD video if you want to see my video work. But my main stuff is on Maisie Rose.
And that's on Instagram.
Instagram, I don't use Twitter.
Right. So the MD is a D for the surname, or you don't have to say?
My surname's Duff. So I do all my video work under Maisie Duff, which is my surname, and Maisie Rose is my middle name. So I split it up like that.
Excellent. Thank you very much.
And just one closing question from me, if that's all right. Just, do you have any plans to go back to Korea anytime?
I do, yes. So me and my boyfriend are planning on going. He is massively into Japan. So the idea is we go to Japan for a week, then we go to Korea for a week, and I'm going to drag him around. And he's like, I'm going to leave the itinerary to you. So I'm going to surprise him with some sandakji, chicken feet.
Interesting.
Yeah, he's going to hate me. The first day is like, I'm going home. So hopefully by next year I'll be able to go. It's just waiting for COVID to settle a bit more.
Right. Okay.
That's it from me, I guess. And I guess, is that all for you?
Yeah, thank you very much for joining us. We very much appreciate it.
Thank you for having me.
All right, cheers. Bye.
Thanks.
Right, so that was our interview with Maisie Rose, really enjoyed that, and I hope maybe she will come on again sometime in the future.
She did seem quite keen or happy to do it again. We could have talked to her. It sounds like American thing. Gotten or talking. Talk to her again. If she seemed quite happy to do that again.
Yeah, she's got a lot of interesting perspectives as well. So
cool. I mean, like you, she lived there. I haven't lived there. I've been there many times, but she seems to know her stuff. She's quite funny. I mean, if that full Squid Game thing that she did, I know that was just a simple, spontaneous, dressed up sort of live stream on Instagram, but she was very funny. Even if she doesn't know she's funny, she's saying something and it's quite funny, quite dry. But she mentioned not so Korean podcast a few times, and she talked about. I said, why don't you promote your own stuff? She went, I could do, or something like that.
Maybe she has too many things to promote now. I don't know.
It was a great picture that day, actually. We took a photo of us by those phone boxes in Kingston, which is just down the road from where we live.
That's on our Instagram already.
It's definitely on yours, I think. But you're right. I looked, But so we hope you enjoyed that. That's been a few weeks we've been dying to get that up to our listeners without.
Yeah, apologies to Maisie for the delay on that.
Yeah,
but we had
sorry, Maisie.
a lot of things to do.
we're trying to, and it has to be. We're trying to get these shows at least themed around a similar thing, but we've had to break them up. Like this one is, movies, kimchi, and also Maisie. So it's so that's how we normally end a show, or what we've done in the past is talk about a bit of news if there's any Korean related news out there. And I think your friend who you spoke about last week, there was a bit of news, a tiny bit of news or update.
Marie Atelier. Well, she was not feeling too well recently, so she took a bit of a break, and she said that she needed some more time to complete our art piece, if you want to call it. But according to her, she's doing like the whole 9 yards. She's doing No Sokopo, Not So Korean Podcast, Tim and Jay, something, Jason, Timothy, I don't know.
She doesn't need to do
anyway,
all that.
I told her, she doesn't need to do all that. But if you're listening, you don't need to do all that. No. But anyway, we'll see how it turns out. I think she's going to start working on it at the end of this week.
We don't know what to expect because we don't know. This is some sort of logo thing she's doing.
Yeah, and I don't know exactly how long it will take her, but
I don't mind
if it takes her however long it takes her.
Yeah, personally, I don't mind if it's in 2022. It's not that, it's not something we wanted in return because she was
after our show's gone.
Yeah, last week we spoke about her. So that's
it'll be just a memorial tablet to her, like a tombstone.
Maybe she's
no.
What you mean? You mean like much later on?
Yeah, no. Hopefully not. No. Hopefully this show will be going on 10 years from now, and we'll see.
We'll see. Might be going. Like we've gone from weekly, and now we're kind of fortnightly now. We might go monthly, we might go yearly. No, we won't do it once a year. But we might even go back to weekly. But we're just trying to get our footing on this and fitting with other stuff. We've had a busy time, and also it's a busy time of year. Actually, a slightly Korean related event. I went to a Damon Albarn concert, and for anybody who knows him, Tim went as well. Sorry, I went to two on the same evening.
You went to two on the same day. I went to the first one that you invited me to kindly. Thank you.
No, that's okay. And he was in Kingston, which is literally on the doorstep. He is like the biggest musician in the world now, even one of them anyway. And even though people don't always know his name, he's the head man of Gorillaz. He's the head man of Blur, Africa Express. But the reason I was bringing it up was someone said, and I don't know how true this is, that the shirt that he keeps wearing, or the design he keeps wearing, it says Bonjour. Obviously you'd think it's French.
Right.
But it's kind of a very quirky, very garish almost. And someone said to me, but they might have got confused, they said it was a Korean brand.
Korean brand.
Now, of course, I don't know. I mean, he does sort of get stuff made for him sometimes. Sometimes it's just another well-known brand. But I was just wondering if there was a Korean... It could be Japanese, and someone has told someone, because people often get confused and they've taken it away as Korean.
Right.
Or someone said it was... Yeah, I'm not sure. But also, I thought I'd mention this because on one of Blur's albums, he did a song called KIMJANG.
Yeah.
And some of the other songs on that album kind of have stories about North Korea. Or they've got I think they've got things written in the songs. So he did go to North Korea.
Right.
He went there and he kind of described it as this magical place because everyone's under this illusion or whatever.
Right.
But I think he did some. I don't know if he's actually done some recording. They just haven't seen the light of day. But I don't know why that is. But he went there. There's a special reason he went there, which was to do with music because that's his life. But and I just thought I'd mention that. But it's an example of how sometimes our other life can take over these other commitments.
We find connections all over the place to different things.
Yeah, that's the thing, isn't it? You do also find like sometimes. It's like my mum a couple of years ago, she got me some socks, and she literally, one of the main reasons she got me because she saw Made in Korea in it.
Oh, okay.
And fair enough, that's not often, there's some mermaidy socks or something. Right. But it's kind of weird how you find these connections sometimes. It's just the smallest thing, which is good.
Yeah. And speaking of North Korea, we do want to talk more about North Korea in future episodes, and we apologize if anyone's been expecting more North Korean content on this podcast. But
we've done our best to conclude it in every other show, a bit of news, and we are going to be speaking to some North Korean friends and acquaintances at some point. There's a lot in this area, there's artists in this area, and also as
and
Kim
we
just
know
said,
some
it is.
North Korean defectors, and hopefully we'll talk to some of them on interview some of them.
And in fact, that reminds me, the KIMJANG festival. There's normally a North Korean woman there, at least one. There's going to be quite a few that take part in that. They're always just making their own version of kimchi. In fact, it's on a stall. It's just a normal kimchi stall. Yeah. If there is such a thing as a kimchi stall. Yeah. But then nobody knows that they're north or south. It doesn't really matter.
Sure.
But they. Yeah. So I think that's good. They're bringing their own cuisine, and they're quite proud of it, I guess. And it is a different taste in many ways. Yeah,
actually, I have been to North Korea once, and I ate some food in North Korea, but that's probably for another episode.
Show. Yeah, we might have even mentioned that. Yeah. Definitely so. Anyway. But one other thing we're talking about. What was the other thing we were going to mention? Oh no, that was it. Yeah, you talked earlier about the not so Korean. Forgot. So that's where the not comes from, north. Yeah. So that's why we're trying to desperately try to include North Korean stuff. We could do an episode, literally pick one subject about North Korea. Great. But anyway, what I was going to say was our Not So Korean podcast group. We had recently, someone posted there. Actually, someone we've interviewed, fun enough, that we've still got to come up in this show. And she posted an article which was about North and South Korean women in the UK.
Yeah, peacemaking.
Yes. Now I missed the Zoom call. It was quite a long one. I think it was like 3 hours or something.
Oh,
wow. But the good thing is, it does sound like they're going to put it onto YouTube or somewhere. So, but the good thing is, thanks first of all, people for putting stuff into our group. It is designed for the community. Obviously, we might have to pick and choose stuff later on. Yeah. Depends what the articles are. So that is a part to do with North Korea. So there's some speakers from North and the South there.
And we hope to include an interview with the lady who shared this on our group page. Jane Hee-jung Lim.
Yes. Jane.
And she's apparently running for Kingston Council next year, I believe.
Yeah, another one of our friends is as well. Yeah, and we're not going to get into politics and stuff here, but you're right. It is quite interesting that there's Koreans. And Justina knows a few of those because of her connections as well. So
we did about a 10-minute interview with her or something at the Kingston Korea Festival a few weeks ago.
We've got about we
put a short clip up on Instagram from her interview, but it was just like a minute.
Yeah, that's true. It was a lot longer than that.
Hope to release the whole interview later.
Yeah, she was wearing a lovely hanbok on the day, or
modernized hanbok. Yeah.
That's right. We did, talking of that day. We did speak to 3 people that we've still got to put up, including her. But we also, just to mention this, we spoke to Mind. So you would have seen a couple of episodes ago. We spoke
Mind in Kingston.
Yes, Mind in Kingston. Sorry, not Mind, because Mind is it is the same company, but it's a different part of it.
Same
Mind
organisation.
In Kingston. Yeah, that's right. So we did, but we want to always mention them because they're doing such a great thing for mental health and particularly Koreans in. The sort of Kingston upon Thames and thereabouts area, and so we're just giving them a shout out at the end of the show. We really like what they do. That was kind of something we stumbled upon by accident. Oh, and I might be putting up on my YouTube channel just that interview alone. Okay. So instead of the episode, just putting the Mind in Kingston episode. Right. So for anyone who does subscribe to the YouTube channel, which incidentally for audio listeners, sorry, this is confusing. The YouTube channel at the moment, which might become our standalone one, is you can type in Jason K-Town Verney, because that's our channel.
And speaking of that, you also uploaded a
that's
video.
what I was going to come to. Okay. Yeah, no, that's okay. No, that's okay. You can mention it actually, rather than me keep piping on about my own stuff. But if you mention it, that's great. But also you can do youtube.com/ Jason Verney, and that will bring us to the same channel. We might break away and have our own Not So Korean podcast one, but we're just experimenting. This has got quite a few people watching, so we'll see what happens. But Tim's going to mention something about the channel.
Yeah, so you posted a short video on there. It's about 3 minutes in length about the BOP project, which we were involved with. Yeah. I guess this is now like 2 or 3 months ago, maybe?
Yeah,
it feels like it's... Well,
I just realised ages ago, but because there's a lot's happened since we had the hanbok thing, which is also, I'm going to upload that to YouTube at some point. Right. I don't want to kind of clutter it with things, but I also don't want to clutter the YouTube channel with Not So Korean podcasts only. Sure. But it's I'm trying to find sensible links.
Yeah. But anyway, this video was first shown as part of the Hallyu Con 2021 for the KCC UK Korean Cultural Center, and so Hanguk Hapa hosted this video basically, and I filmed some of it. Jason edited it.
Yeah, I think there's a couple of bits from my film, but not much. And I think there's some of her film that you did as well. Yeah,
and we also participated in the longer version, which hasn't been released yet.
No, and that I'm kind of, I found that out recently. It's not included as part of the KIMJANG festival, but later in the year, I could be as late as early 2022. The longer version of the video, which shows us tasting. We should be showing
tasting various kinds of or how they made various kinds of rice. The methods of making rice.
So that is a kind of. I mean, Justine is in talks with me at the moment, as in how we're going to do that. I've got my vision of it, but it might be different to her vision. So instead of a 3-minute video, which I've just posted on YouTube, which Tim just mentioned, which is simple, but it's to the point, and it shows you how they wash and how they make the rice. But I was quite happy to be commissioned by. Well, we were asked to do it by the KCC. It's kind of it gets confusing because you've got KBCE. They're the ones that were making it, but the KCC UK, Korean Cultural Centre UK, which is something I'm always thankful to for them, because they got me into Korean films. They got me into lots of things about a decade
and
ago.
They run the London Korean Film.
They run that as well, and they run the music stuff, everything. So it was kind of them that were kind of commissioning it, but also the HallyuCon through them, I think, or in connection with them. But it's just a 3-minute video. If you do go on there, then feel free to like or just watch and leave a comment, or just watch it and never come again. we don't mind. But there will be more Korean related stuff. There's already a load on my channel, but all kinds of weird stuff, vlogs as well from places. But so I suppose that one more mention, which is Kaya, because we always use their music. So that's who we play out with. So
this one's a bit longer than usual, but we hope it wasn't too long for you. We're
kind of getting used to this nice sort of chatting vibe and getting out our points as opposed to rushing it. I mean, we do get to a point where you do have to rush it to an extent, otherwise we would be here all day. It's already getting dark as we speak in the little studio setup we have.
And once all these festivals and things are over, we are hoping to have more of a subject or topic based episodes where we just talk about one certain thing.
That was the original intention. In fact, we've mentioned this before, but we were, say we were sitting in a pub, we thought we've got all this Korean knowledge, what we like to think we have, and talk about the subjects. And then and what happened was people were enthusiastic about our mention of interviews. So we couldn't pass that up, and we've got a few lined up, like bigger, sort of big things. So we do want to. So myself and Tim are like, we want to talk about other topics, and we could include it in a bumper show.
We could have done a whole Squid Game episode, but
we might do.
It seems like
we might in the future.
Time has passed maybe on that one.
Or in the second series,
I heard that the second season is
another...
supposed to be coming out at some point, but that may be like a year or two from now.
Because that was the other bit of news. It was news to me and news to Tim. I finished watching the series way after everybody else, and in fact, now I think about it, Russell Brand.
He also talked about it.
I mean, he's someone that people either love or loathe. But Russell Brand is, he's a big, massive person, a comedian and an activist and all that. But he mentioned he's just finished it, and I did, I realised a few things from that. First of all, he liked to watch it in Korean. He preferred that, so that's something to learn. He didn't like the parts where those American.
The American
I didn't like that.
I think most people were a bit disappointed in that. But,
And there's a couple of other things which I was gonna write an article about on my mini movie website, but I thought I haven't got time. But no, that was good that he did it, and he sort of spoke about Korean culture briefly, about his kids and K-pop or some music stuff. But it was interesting, I guess. So that was quite, something. I did wonder if he was going to. It just took a while because it was so relevant. In many ways,
especially to the things that he talks about quite often, with including capitalism and class.
Capitalism, class, divide.
Anyway,
so if we leave with the same, we'll just say goodbye in the same way that we do.
Yes.
And
all right, we'll see you when we see you. Okay.
Yeah.
And Yoni.
Yeseyo.
I ordered these Squid Game costumes like 300 years ago, and they finally arrived today, like right on time, so I'm really happy. And I want to show it off. So I'm just getting over a cold. I feel fine, but my throat is like all over the place. Not COVID. A few years now. I had a friend, well, I still have a friend, who lives in Hereford, which is... Hello everyone, how you doing? Do you like my new Squid Game costume? I'm really happy with it. It came with gloves and a mask as well, but I'm technically working right now, so I need to be able to see what I'm doing. And the mask, actually I'll show you anyway, because it's cool. The mask is good. You just can't see anything through it. Not really. I feel like I'm kidnapping myself. Hey. Oh my god, why am I doing this on a fucking Friday afternoon? Oh. I can't see anything though. I already feel like I'm kidnapping myself. I wanted it to be like the hard mask, but it's just this shit, innit? I thought you was in Korea. No, I live in England. Haha, I'm so funny. Hello, Jason. Oh my goodness. All of my chingus are here today. Just a bag on your head. Yeah, it's like stretchy. I don't know. This is easier to watch when you can't see my face, isn't it? It came with gloves too. I'll show you the gloves. Oh my god, I should be working right now. What are we doing? Got a tight deadline today, but I'm just too excited. This way, if people find the gun, they don't have my fingerprints on it. I really can't see anything. Like, this is supposed to be a Halloween costume. How am I supposed to go out? I know, I'll put it on backwards. Oh no! Let's try that again. Yeah, how am I supposed to go out on Halloween when I can't even see what I can't even put gloves on properly. That's how bad it is. But to be fair, it was like £25 on Amazon, so it took about 3 years to come though. Okay, I can't. Hello, use that as a sleeping eye mask. Oh, I wouldn't. I can't breathe. I mean, you probably want to breathe when you're asleep. Say some lines from Squid Game. Oh, come on. What's something that these big boys say? 무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다. There you go. Okay, I actually can't breathe. That's staying off, sorry. But the hood will go up. Okay, I can see now. Hello, you need a chong. I don't know why I'm looking around like I'm just going to have one there. I'm in England. We don't do tongs here. Oh, yes. Is he here? We should get Tim here so he can tell me all of his facts about Squid Game. I'm pretty sure he will have a lot of them. Halloween party? No. I'm just weird. I don't have any Halloween plans. I want to. Now that I've got this, I want to go out, but I don't actually have any plans, which is really sad. My beer, watching a movie, not going out at all. Don't know why I got this. I got a request to be in the live video. Mujahid, but I really shouldn't be on live right now. I should be working. Hello, everybody. Hello, 안녕. That accent is dope. Thanks, bruv. Thanks. I don't love it. I don't hate it, but I slip in and out of an ugly accent. And no one in Korea understands my accent because they all learn American English. So when I'm in Korea, I'm like, hello, can I have a soda, please? It's not even good. I wonder if there's any Squid Game filters. How do I... I've been on Instagram so long. 여러분, 게임에 환영합니다. Okay. Yeah, but I took my mask off, so now I've got to die. 여러분, game... Wow, it would help if I could speak Korean, wouldn't it? 여러분, 게임에 환영합니다. 여기 오면 꼭 죽을 것 같아요. 영원히 안녕. Is that the Squid Game outfit? Yes, it is. £25 on Amazon. Oh, you want me to go lower? 게임에 환영합니다. 돈이 많이 있습니다. 환영합니다. 돈이 없는 사람. Hair looks great. It's always different. Yeah, I'm trying to grow it out. It's actually getting really long, but it's still a mullet. And I've had the mullet for like 10 years, so... I can't remember what colour it was when I met up with you last time for the podcast. Because I recorded a podcast with Oh my god, I just realised that doesn't say Jason. It says Jason. I recorded a podcast with Jason. He runs a Korean themed podcast in London, so you got that to look forward to if you care about me and my personal life in any way, shape or form. But I don't know when it's coming out, so I'll probably put it on Way Googans when it does, because they do quite a lot of interviews with actual people, not just little people like me, but like chefs and translators, I think. I don't know, it's hard to keep up. You do a lot. That's a Joe Goldberg vibe. Oh, it's raining. I thought that's the one I'd just broken in. Yeah, Scary Movies weekend. We're deciding between Halloween and Beetlejuice. Actually, yes. Yep, Not So Korean podcast soon. We had a backlog. Yep, Not So Korean podcast. They do, obviously, podcasts to do with Korean culture. They're based in London, and it's nice to get like a little community of people who like Korea in London. So if you want to listen to people talking about Korea, check it out, because they know a lot, especially about like films and stuff. Can you hear that rain? It is pissing it down. 모두 게임을 성공하면, Nikki, if you want me to read out that number, you got another thing coming. 얻을 겁니다. Okay. 모두 게임을 성공하면 돈 얻을 겁니다. I'm not fucking saying that number. Oh, okay. Maybe I can. I'll just say it in English. 모두 게임을 성공하면 45 million won 얻을 겁니다. Oh my god, it sounds like, you know, you have those like subway announcements, and it's like a normal voice, and then they say the station, and it's like a weird out of context voice. So it's like, 이번 역은 서울 스테이션입니다. I started saying it in Korean and I ended up saying it in English. Is it million or billion? I don't know. I can't count 1, 2, 3. So that's 3, 6. That's 9 zeros. I think that's million. 모두 게임을 성공하면 45 million won 얻을 겁니다. 나도 그런 돈이 없지만 찾을 수 있으면 알려줘. I really want that money. I think it's 4500 or what am I doing? Okay, okay, I'll try again. I have to scroll up so I have to remember this. 45억 100원. I need to put the hood back up so people know that I'm not just saying it. I'm playing a character. Squid Games, can you hire me? Thanks. Okay, I've already forgotten it. 45억 100원. 45억 100원. 모두 게임을 성공하면 45억 100원 얻을 겁니다. Wow, that was terrifying. You should be scared of me. Ah, oh, bless you. Please save this video so that I don't know how to pronounce his name, but his name's Timothy, can see it. Just so that, just for the great Not So Korean podcast shout out. But in the great Squid Game outfit and impressions, this is such an amusing live stream. Oh, I'm glad you're enjoying it. Do you want me to give a shout out with the hood on? Because I will. Tell me what to say. I mean, I fucking bought it. I'm not going to a Halloween party, so I might as well make some use of it. What's the English version of that? I never watched it dubbed, but obviously they're not going to be singing that in Korean. They're going to be like, red light, blue light, I don't know. Oh, it's green. Oh, I can't see. This is going back on in a minute. I just can't see. 450억. Oh my god, Nikki, that's so difficult. Your daily dose of Korean. I bet you didn't expect to see this, did you? Ah! Oh god, I can't see! This mask is useless. Put some holes in it. Well, only if he sees it. He may not be up yet. But I've got to save the video, so. Okay. This is a little shout out for Not So Korean podcast because why the fuck not? Oh, should I put the glass on? Yes, I shall. 무궁화 꽃이 피었습니다. I put that on Instagram, right? I put that as a reel. I can't even like share it on story anymore. I don't know what Instagram think they're doing. But whatever it is, it's actually personally offending me. It's like they don't want us to share things anymore. Like, isn't that the whole point? Anyway. Oh my god, more comments. With square, I think so. I've got a circle one and I think, I hope this is the strongest because I don't want to out myself like that. How are you breathing in that mask? I'm not. I'm actually not. It's not that tight. Anyway. Not So Korean podcast. Check it out. Or you will 죽어. You're welcome, Jason. Okay, has anyone else got anything else that I can shout out? Because I bought this outfit and I have no real reason to have it. Halloween party 갔나요? No. 갈 곳 없어요. 그냥 입고 싶어서 입어요. 외국인. Did we steal the name that you wanted to get on Instagram? So you had to add an extra N at the end. I'm so sorry, but we try to do well. Oh, happy birthday! Oh, I'll say it in Squid Game. Happy birthday, 생일 축하해요. 너 안 죽어요. 모두 다 죽는데 너만 안 죽어요. Because it's your birthday. Shout out about your great video titles and packages. Okay. 안녕하세요. Why am I doing it in Korean? Hello. I make videos and I sell YouTube graphics for YouTube videos. Check it out. MD video. Okay. Has anyone else got any shout outs for me? Is it cold where you're staying? Because it's cold in Jeju now. Oh, I miss Jeju Island so much. It's not that cold here. It's getting there, but it's not that cold yet. But it is raining a lot. And I've got to go out later, so... what part of Jeju are you in? I've only been to one side of it, and I think it was something called Seogwipo? Something like that. I don't know. It was really fun though. It was summer and it was a typhoon and I had the greatest time ever. I'm going to Trupar, if that makes sense. Probably doesn't. I need that hand. Okay. Squid Game을 환영합니다. 게임을 다 죽지 않고 끝나면 돈 많이 받을게요. Okay? So there's that for you. Oh. I live in Norhyung-dong, Michigan. Oh, that's cool. Okay, I need to go back to work. Oh, there's another comment. Okay, we need to go back to work. Oh my god, I've got a deadline tonight. Oh my god, okay. I'm Michael Jacksoning this because I need this hand to use my phone. 라이브를 오는 게 환영합니다. Okay, I've really got to go. Okay, I've got to go. Thank you for watching. Thank you for putting up with this mess of a human being. I will see you. Oh, fuck. I will go. Goodbye.